Welcome back to part 2 of today's video on delving into the art of bookbinding. As you can see, I left off with 2 different covers. One I made off camera because the other one was too big. Measure twice and cut once and all that jazz. Anyways, now I am attempting to clean up the edges of my actual book block. They were very wonky. I tried cutting them by hand, I tried cutting them with a paper cutter, and I just could not get it to work, so I put them in my book press, and I went at it with first a rotary cutter, which sort of worked, and then a knife, which sort of worked. The edges end up very wonky. They're better than they were, I guess, sort of, kind of, but a little crooked. Let's just say I have another paper cutter on the way, and I am very eager to use it. My next book project will hopefully be much cleaner and tidier, but you know what? It's a sketchbook, it's my very first project. I don't really care how it turned out on the edges. I think it looks great regardless. So now comes the part of gluing the spine. I'm just putting a bunch of PVA glue, again acid-free PVA glue, onto the spine here to kind of hold things together, and then I'll be adding a bookbinding cloth. This is usually a mull of some sort. You just add it on. For some reason it didn't want to stick right away. It took a while to get it to stick, so it may take a bit of effort, but I got it in the end and it looks like it'll work, hold up pretty well. So at this part I wanted some design on the front cover instead of just the book cloth, so I used my Cricut to do a heat transfer vinyl piece and weed it out and get a design that I could put on the front that was kind of a cool shiny gold color thing. Is this part of the reason why I got a Cricut to begin with? Maybe. For other purposes too, but bookbinding was definitely on the list of things I wanted to do with it. Anyways, here is the weeding out process, which took a lot longer than it should have. For whatever reason, I just could not get it out. I should have actually taped down the piece that I was working on so that it would stop sliding around whenever I tried to pull up the vinyl. But, it's a work in progress. I get there in the end. So now it's all about arranging it on the front, making sure it's in the right spot, push down the sticky paper, put on some parchment paper, and then you heat it up. I'm using the Cricut heat press, whichever. Basically, it's a miniature iron without the steam, and peel off the transfer tape, and look, there you go. I did a little extra, probably didn't need it, and it works out really well. I really like how it looks. I would have gotten a slightly more gold tinged one if I could, but we'll see. I might find some in the end. I just don't want to really spend more money on materials right now. I have plenty, and I don't care if it's not that shiny. So now comes the fun part of gluing the book into the cover. Taking some wax paper. I should have used waste paper here, but I had wax paper on hand, so this is what I used. And I just make sure the glue doesn't get onto the rest of the book, and then spread it all over. I did have to adjust this back page. It didn't quite sit the way it should have done, but it got there and it works just fine. So at this time I'm putting more wax paper in so the glue doesn't stick, putting it into the book press, and then let it dry for quite a while. I actually let it dry for several hours. I probably should have let it dry overnight, but I'm impatient and I really wanted to see how it was turning out, so I let it dry for several hours and then pulled it out, and it turns out it was good enough. So here is me pulling out the final product, and I have to say I am really pleased with how this turned out. For my very first bookbinding project, I sewed the signatures together, I put end papers on, I did a whole cloth bound cover. It looks really good. Yes, the edge of the pages are quite wonky. It is not straight in the slightest, but the cover looks great, the end papers look great, the book opens like it should. It opens nice and flat for sketching. I think it'll work really nicely for my next sketchbook, which is good because I was actually running out of space in my old one. But, I am really pleased with how this turned out. And have I absolutely discovered a hobby that I love and will be doing for years to come. Maybe. Am I immediately going to dive into another bookbinding project, this time with a printed book paperback that I'm going to turn into hardback? Also, maybe. Okay, more than maybe. That is absolutely going to be my next project. I'm really excited. But I really, really enjoyed this project, and I will see you next time in whatever bookbinding adventures we have.